I don't really know how to start this video. I guess I will start by saying that I am not making this video for any attention. Don't feel like you have to write something in the comments. This is my therapy. This is my way of talking openly about how I'm feeling and people understanding how I'm feeling without feeling like they have to say anything to me. It's really difficult sometimes going through this and talking to people opposite me and trying to, one, hold it together, and two, make them not feel uncomfortable, because talking about this kind of thing in person can make the other person feel really awkward and pressured to say something to make everything better, which no one can say anything that's going to make what's happening any better. I feel like I've wanted to make a video about my dad having dementia for a while, but I've not known how to talk about it. And last night I found myself going through my phone and looking at messages that he had sent me when he was normal. And I hadn't looked at my text messages or my Facebook messages. I'd only looked at my WhatsApp because I knew what was on my WhatsApp was safe. I knew that we didn't speak as much on WhatsApp as we did via text and Facebook. So to just give you a bit of background on all of this, in January 2016, if you've been following this channel for a while, you will know that I left England to go to Australia in January 2016, and when I left, everything was fine. We were just a really good, close, fun family that had a lot of banter and inside jokes, and it was all fun and games, and I left and everything was fine. But I do remember when my mum, dad and brother dropped me off, I remember feeling really emotional at leaving my dad, which is weird because when I have gone to uni, when I spent a summer in America, I never felt that sad. Because I'm just used to being away, and it's always been, you know, it's sad to leave, but I've never physically cried at leaving, which it was just weird. Anyway, I got to Australia, and reading the messages about when I got to Australia, my dad said this, like, it's so hard to remember how he used to be because he's just not this anymore, and he was so much fun, and I think that's why I got so upset. He said, "Are you in Australia yet? What's it like?" And I said, "Just got here, it's cold." He said, "It shouldn't be cold. Are you in Australia? You can check by looking around. Is everything upside down?" Just like little things like that, just I forgot about. Anyway, I was away in Australia for 6 or 7 months. I came back before going to Disney to sort out my American visa. And when I came home, there was a slight change. I just noticed a few things went right, and a lot of other people realised this. There was a day that I'd been out with my friends. I came home and there was a big bay window behind the sofas that looked all the way out into the garden. And as I walked past the front of the house, I looked through the window and saw my dad standing in the garden looking up at the sky. And I thought, that's weird, but kind of laughed. And I went in the house, went straight out to the back garden and was like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And he was like looking at the pigeons and started laughing, and he was a bit of a joker, I always messed around, so I was like clearly having a joke. So we laughed about it. My mum came home and I went upstairs and told her, and she got really concerned, and I was like, "What's going on? Something's weird now," because my mum's concerned. And basically a lot of people thought my dad had like a brain tumour. He's had a lot of problems with his head in the past, I won't go into that, or a bleed on the brain. And obviously as his daughter, that really upset me. I was so close to my dad. He was like one of my best friends. But yeah, it really upset me, and a lot of people around us had noticed. And on my last day at home before I went to Disney, my mum and dad were making fajitas. We were having a fajita night. My mum was at work, and I again had come back from seeing my friends, and he'd set the table up just for him and mum. And there's even a text in there that really upset me when I read it. I noticed that he hadn't set a table place for me, and I was devastated because I felt like he didn't want me there, and I didn't understand. I felt like my dad didn't love me anymore. I left the house, and I remember driving and calling my friend at the time and saying like how upset I was, like he didn't want me there, and was like really confused. And then he texted me, obviously after speaking with my mum had realised, and he said, "Are you coming home for dinner? Sorry I didn't set a table place out for you." And at the time I didn't understand, but now I know why, but I didn't know at the time. It was like the next day I flew, and the messages he sent me that day as well really broke me, because it was like just like normal. While I was away, I didn't have much contact with my dad. He started quickly declining, and I left in July, and he was diagnosed in December, just like a few days before Christmas. I knew that there was a date that we would get results from all the tests he'd had. And I knew that there was a suspicion of dementia, but we weren't sure if it definitely was or if it was something else, and we really hoped it was medication he was on. But I got the call from my mum telling me my dad had dementia, and I have never felt like I've never felt like that before. I felt like someone had pulled the floor from beneath me. I felt like my heart just, you know, when you get that heart sinking feeling, I felt like that times a million. I don't think anything will ever prepare you to hear the words your dad has dementia, or one of your parents has dementia, because you know that you are about to lose them so badly. I'm so grateful for my friends and my boyfriend for being there for me in that time, because I was like broken as a person. I didn't know how to deal with it. And I thought about coming home several times, but everyone at home said to me like, don't come home during this. Your dad wouldn't want you to come home. He'd want you to have a good time. And I didn't really speak to my dad again until probably March, or maybe the end of February. So I hadn't had much contact with him at all, and I decided one day I'd had a dream and it wasn't a good dream, and I thought I need to speak to my dad. So I called my mum, and I was in the car with my friends, and I thought I didn't think it was gonna be what it was. And I called my dad, I spoke to him, and he was this weird man on the phone. It wasn't my dad anymore, and I was really overwhelmed. He had no attention span and said about 2 words to me, and I got really upset and just didn't know what to do, because I knew that at that point I was like, he's gone. At the end of July 2017, I came home. I decided to come home and surprise my family, which was the biggest mistake of my life. Shouldn't have done that. Definitely didn't think. I don't know if I was really naive to how bad he would be or what, but I got home, surprised my mum, and I remember filming it on my phone, and I was like, where's Dad? And I walked down the stairs with the camera still filming, and I saw him, and I just remember just turning my phone off and being like, I can't. Wow, who's that? He didn't look like the same person. He was so thin. He sounded so old. He looked so much older. And he cried when he saw me, but not really. I don't think it was actually him crying because he saw me. It's very confusing what he's got. And I was devastated. That was meant to be a really nice day back home, and it was genuinely the worst night of my entire life. A lot of stuff happened that night. I'm not going to go into that, but it was I didn't know how to deal with it. I was at a complete rock bottom at that stage, and I decided to stay on the Isle of Wight where my family lived for about 6 months or so, until January at least. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that in that 6 or 7 months, however long it was, I went back to Disney World several times to see my boyfriend. And it was a really nice escape for me because I couldn't actually deal with what was happening. I started to just dislike who he was, and that's the worst thing, and I can't believe I'm admitting that, but I dislike who he is now. It sucks because normal dementia would be so nice to have right now, and that sounds awful to say, but I wish it was normal dementia because at least he's still there, or if it was another terminal disease, at least I still have him there. But what we have is a man that looks like my dad, kind of, just the shell of him, and what we've lost is his personality, his emotion and his empathy. That's the part of the brain that has been destroyed in this disease. Normal dementia, you lose your memory, and then later on, towards the very end, you lose the other half, which he's lost first. And it's the fastest decline ever. Like, if you think he was diagnosed in 2016, it's now 2018, and he's like a 3-year-old child. He's just not him anymore, and it's so upsetting because people that live where I'm from know him as the running man because he does all these like crazy things. Like he can't go out without a carer now. We do have full-time carers looking after him so that my mum has some respite, because it's just, he's impossible to look after because he constantly wants to run around and he has so much energy, it's crazy, and he just runs everywhere, which is like so degrading for him as a person. Because if you knew my dad before this happened, he was like the funniest, smartest, wisest, wittiest, just most caring person in the world. Like, when I was a kid, I remember being at my friend's birthday party. My mum came to pick me up and was like, had to rush home because my dad had run into a burning building to save people. Like, he was so selfless. And like, when I was upset, I would go to him and he would calm me down. He always knew exactly what to say. He always believed in me. This channel, he used to text me in the morning after a video had gone live on a Friday morning, and he would tell me the amount of views I had, how many subscribers I'd gained, how many likes I had. And he would be my biggest supporter, and like relentlessly believed in me, and the whole reason that I got into comedy and like this whole thing is because of my dad, because he is the funniest man, and now he's just like, I think reading those messages last night really hit me. Since July 2017, have pushed a lot of my feelings deep inside me, and I haven't addressed them, and I've not coped with that very well. I've been a bit of a different person since that meeting of the new him. I've really not coped at all. And last night I decided to read through those messages, and I suddenly remembered who he was, and all these emotions have come up, and I haven't cried like this in so long, and it feels really fucking good. It feels really good to feel this, because for so long I was like, oh my god, why don't I care? Like, somebody was talking about dementia the other day, and I brought up that my dad had it. I didn't even shudder at it. I just was like, it's fine, like, that is what happens, and I had no emotion for it. And I was really worried. I thought, why don't I care? Why have I just come to dislike this person that he is now? And I can't believe I'm saying that, because that's awful. He's my dad, but he's not my dad. He's gone. And like, I feel like it's so much harder because, or like physically he's still here, but mentally he's gone. So it's so difficult because I see him and it's like a constant, it's like having the ghost of someone that's gone there, but not really. Like, you can't talk to them and you can't confide in them. You can't like have a joke with them anymore. And I'm just rambling on now, and I feel like I needed to get that off my chest, talk about it. And if anyone is going through anything similar, like, talk to me, I will talk to you. Let's share our stories. Let's laugh at this together, because I feel like if you don't laugh at it, you're gonna cry and get like this. And I need to talk about it more. I need to laugh about it more, because, you know, he does do some really funny things, and a lot of you don't realise, but Ethel is now the embodiment of my dad. A lot of the stuff I do with Ethel is because of my dad, because he does a lot of those things, and I found humour in doing that. And that's when people ask me, what's your inspiration for Ethel? It's my dad that has Pick's disease. And that's how I am trying to find my funny in this, is trying to laugh at the fact that, you know, although this really shit thing has happened, there are some really funny stories we can take from this. I'm sure this video is a complete mess, and I apologise for the mess that I have just erupted onto you. I just needed to let it out. I feel like I just had this off switch on for so long. I needed to press on, let the tears pour out, and now I can probably just burped, move on. That was it coming out. I can move on from all these blocks of emotion and just be a bit more free, and remember my dad for who he was, and try and keep that memory alive. Thank you so much for listening, for watching this video, and normal videos will resume on Tuesday. Please go and hug your parents and tell them that you love them.